Oh, hi, everybody. WaitingForNextYear.com podcast. It is Saturday morning, and the Cleveland Browns have finished day 2 of the NFL draft. I think most of you know that I've been a big proponent of DeSean Kizer for a long time. Without getting totally into a savior complex, I think it's very reasonable to assume that he could have the best NFL career out of all the top quarterbacks drafted this year. I know that's a little bit hard to believe for some, and I think that some people think I'm crazy. But I think it speaks more to how unexcited I was about Mitch Trubisky, Deshaun Watson, and even Patrick Mahomes. I was not excited about these guys. And it's hard to get excited about DeSean Kizer. I get it. He's got size, and he's got all the measurables that you'd want to see from a guy in a combine, but man, does the game tape look bad from his final season at Notre Dame. What I did was I was excited about his kind of intangibles. I'd seen interviews as things were going badly at Notre Dame, and I was very excited about the way he dealt with that stuff. I thought that he faced adversity pretty well and stood up pretty tall, even considering how badly things were going at Notre Dame and how much trouble he was having getting along with his head coach. Now, of course, getting along with a head coach and not getting along with a head coach is a warning sign. Obviously, for sure. There's no way to look at it and not consider it a warning sign, because not getting along with coaching and not being coachable is one of the greatest risks that you can have at quarterback. You can have a guy who, dances to the beat of his own drum at receiver, at cornerback, at running back. You can have Marshawn Lynch. You can have all kinds of interesting characters at different positions, but at quarterback, you kind of need a good soldier, a good leader. I know a soldier and a leader might be looked at two different things, but you need a different kind of character. You can't have Johnny Manziel as your quarterback, because he's just too volatile, and despite some talent and some unbelievable plays, you can't get anybody to follow you. So I don't have a savior complex with DeSean Kizer. I don't think he's the next coming of Tom Brady, but I think it boils down to this. Number one, he has the physical tools to be a good prospect. And number two, I don't think he's a turd. It's that simple. It comes down to those two factors. I think he can be coachable with Hugh Jackson, and I think he's a nice bit of clay that could be molded into an NFL quarterback. He's big, he's strong, he's got that 5-star pedigree coming out of high school and coming out of college, and things didn't go his way in college, but now it's up to Hugh Jackson and the Browns to make the most out of it. And that's really all you can ever ask for, is to have a good chance. Where Cody Kessler had a pretty good rookie year, all things considered, but all things considered is the fact that he's not tall enough, he's not big and strong enough, he doesn't prototype out to be the kind of NFL quarterback that you ultimately think can play for you for 10 years. That was the same problem with a Colt McCoy. Colt McCoy had a winning record in college, but he was never that big, strong, whatever, Ben Roethlisberger comes to mind. I've heard Joe Flacco, his name get mentioned, because Hugh Jackson feels like maybe DeSean Kizer could be that guy for us. And, again, it's not Tom Brady, but I don't think anybody here is asking for Tom Brady. We need something approximating Alex Smith. That would be fine, especially picking in the second round. And as long as the basement is somewhere around there, we just need a guy that can play the majority of Browns football games at the quarterback position for more than 2 or 3 years. At this point, that's the bar we're trying to jump over. And DeSean Kizer has probably about as good a chance as anybody at doing that. I mean, when you look at Kizer, let's just compare him to other NFL draft prospects over the last 2 years. Would it shock anybody if DeSean Kizer had a better NFL career than Jared Goff? I don't think so. It wouldn't shock me. I don't know Jared Goff's game all that well, but he's a draft prospect and he plays on a mediocre team and he didn't show anything in his rookie year. Would it shock you if DeSean Kizer ended up having a better NFL career than Carson Wentz? I mean, right now, Carson Wentz, you'd have, if you were betting, depending on the odds, you'd have to bet on Carson Wentz because his rookie year looked kind of promising. He's done a couple things. Didn't set the world on fire, but he's done some things. Now, would it shock you if Kizer had a better NFL career than Deshaun Watson? I mean, obviously, Watson has a track record in college and achieved at the highest level in college. So you got to feel at least something about his prospects. Obviously, Houston did. But it wouldn't... How shocking would it be? Let's say you were shocked. Would it be completely and totally shocked? I don't think so. And that's the thing. Even Trubisky, how shocking would it be if DeSean Kizer ended up having a better career than another guy who appears to have all the physical tools, appears to have the right mentality and coachability, but I mean, has only started 13 games. His track record at UNC is just as questionable, if not more, than DeSean Kizer's at Notre Dame, right? I mean, some of the game tape from 2015, one might argue, is superior to anything that Mitch Trubisky put up at UNC in his 13 games or whatever it was that he started. So that's really what I wanted to get across. I was super excited that the Browns drafted DeSean Kizer. Super excited, but not in a, oh, they have the answer, our prayers have been answered, we have a quarterback for the rest of time kind of way. I was just super excited that the Browns have a prospect that they can work with, that has some potential to potentially be, I just want reps. I want reps. And I felt like Cody, Kessler, Kevin Hogan, and Brock Osweiler are reps, but they're not as good a rep at trying to find a quarterback as DeSean Kizer is. And I feel like Kizer gives them a real chance to develop a guy who can become potentially a 10-year quarterback for the Browns. It's possible. What are the chances? Are they 20%, 25%, 30%? I don't know. Might be even lower than that. I really don't know. But I know that it's a second-round pick. They let the draft come to them. DeSean Kizer has potential to be a real NFL starter. And now they can try and make that happen. They rebuilt the offensive line. They spent a huge amount of draft capital rebuilding the defense, which is good. They went out and got Kizer and a tight end, which obviously helps the offense. But all the anger that I felt when they traded down from number 12, not all of it, but most of it is gone by this point. The way things have played out, and this is why you can't be prisoner of the moment and get too high or get too low when you're doing NFL draft coverage, because the off season is a long thing. The draft is a component of the off season, and not all these Browns picks are going to work out either. It's even if the Browns did really well, it's probably like 52%, somewhere around there, of these guys are going to quote unquote work out in the long run. And it's dependent on the culture that the Browns are creating. It's dependent on the coaching changes that they made, from Greg Williams to the offensive staff that's changed underneath Hugh Jackson to Hugh Jackson himself. But I do feel like after 2 days of the draft that the Browns have accomplished quite a lot. That you can't pencil anybody in and say that they've finished anything. Even including Myles Garrett. You got to feel good about it, but you can't pencil that in as being a done deal. But the Browns accomplished what they needed to accomplish with the draft. They put key prospects in key positions, and now the real work begins, turning them from prospects into real NFL players who are worthy of earning their second contracts. And none more important, oddly enough, than the 52nd pick in the draft, DeSean Kizer, because ask Houston. That defense is really important, but you could have the best defense in the league if you don't have a quarterback. If your quarterback is some combination of Brock Osweiler and Tom Savage, you're not going to go very far. You're not going to go very far at all. So in many ways, DeSean Kizer was the most important draft pick that the Browns made all weekend. And now it's up to them to take him from disappointing college prospect because of his final year at Notre Dame and into legit NFL starter capable of leading a team in the AFC North for more than 5 years. You know, that's lofty goals. It's tough to do, but that's why you hired Hugh Jackson. That's why you spend a second-round pick on a guy who, quote-unquote, fell out of the first round. So I'm obviously very excited about DeSean Kizer. Make sure you let me know on social media in the different channels how excited you are about DeSean Kizer or not excited. I want to hear that too. If you're not excited, why? What is it about DeSean Kizer that makes you nervous? Now, obviously, I know a great many of you didn't want him in the top 10 or top 12 or top 15 or top 20. But now that he's been acquired in the top 52 with the 52nd pick, tell me how you're feeling. And obviously we'll be back. Day 3 of the draft is happening. The Browns have some more picks. They can pick some really smart people with spark scores through the roof. And by the way, I make fun, but I do understand why you would pick that way. I get it. So, but we'll be back with more coverage. Thanks so much for listening. We'll talk to you next time. It's been the waitingfornextyear.com podcast.